Welcome to the Addison Bowen podcast, where we talk about what it actually takes to hit your first six or multi-six figures in business. I'm Addison, certified clinical hypnotherapist and online business coach for entrepreneurs. And 3 years ago, I decided that nursing wasn't for me, dropped out of nursing school, and dove into the online space. From free hypnosis audios to unfiltered conversations and business advice, this is the space for you to take radical responsibility towards creating your dream business. Let's dive in. Okay, so I've noticed that there's a lot of misconceptions in the online space or just in general about hypnotherapy. It is actually really funny, especially when I was actively dating or was on dating apps or meeting new people, and they're like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I'm a hypnotherapist," and it opens up this whole spew of conversation and misconceptions and lack of understanding about what a hypnotherapist actually does, what it entails, and what a session is even like. A lot of people are like, "Oh, okay, so you can hypnotize me right now, or you can control my mind, or you can get me to, do certain things." And that's absolutely not the case. So today I want to talk a little bit about what inspired me to become a hypnotherapist, what my journey with that was like, because I get asked that a lot from my clients as well too, who start hypnotherapy and are like, "This is so life-changing. I want to share this with my clients. Like, what is the process of doing this?" And then also on the flip side, what to expect in a session. And we're going to bust some common myths when it comes to hypnotherapy, because I think that will be really powerful for you guys who have a lot of interest in hypnotherapy but don't necessarily know what it entails, or have heard certain things or seen like stage hypnotism shows or something like that and really think that it's something that it's not. So my client the other day asked me when it comes to hypnotherapy, how I got started, what that process was like, and why I decided to become a hypnotherapist, and again, just like what the certifications and stuff were like. So at this point, I have multiple different hypnotherapy certifications. I've continued my education. I have a lot more hours than a lot of hypnotherapists have. I have multiple certifications in multiple different areas because there's a lot of, what we would call like guilds of hypnotherapy, or there's the American Board of Hypnotherapy, or there's, the Accredited Therapist Association. Like, there's so many different areas, and I have certifications in all three because they're all different ways of practicing hypnotherapy. But initially, what actually prompted me to look into being certified was when I started my business. You obviously, like when you're starting an online business, have to allow yourself to be seen on camera. You have to go live. You have to be okay being on video. You have to be okay being on Zoom. There's a lot of different areas that you're just like, I'm not used to this. This is not, something that I'm used to, like posting this reel or posting this TikTok where, I can be seen by billions of people, right? And so when I started my business, that was the one thing that I struggled with. I didn't struggle with, serving clients. I didn't struggle with connecting with clients in the DMs. I didn't struggle with even, feeling creative when it comes to content, but I wanted to hide myself in carousels or hide myself in static posts, hide myself on, photos, reels, talking on camera, going live was something that was like absolutely unheard of for me. So I went through my first massive launch in my business, my first group program launch in my business, and recognized that I had this like on paper, six-figure strategy. I had all of the content ideas. I had all of the live topics. I had, a strategy to pull people into a wait list and then sell to them. So I was doing this full wait list launch. I had the strategy mapped out to a T. I was actually having someone help me with content. I had the perfect sales page. I had the systems. I had everything in place that you would quote unquote need in order to have a successful launch. And I had spent so much time setting that up as well too, that I almost kind of preemptively should have recognized that I could have all the strategy, but if I was fearful of actually showing up and selling, I wasn't going to produce results, because I spent so much time on the busy work of creating sales pages and systems and really hiding myself behind, the screen on social media, hiding myself on my laptop. And so when it came to actually like taking that strategy and implementing it, I would experience these like physiological symptoms in my body. I would sweat, I would shake, my face would go bright red, I would lose my train of thought, I would like, have my camera set up here to go live or to talk on stories and like literally freeze. And then after, I posted the stories, I would sit there and I would ruminate on it. And I'd be like, you said this, did you sound stupid? Did you, are people going to think you don't know what you're talking about? Like, what if this doesn't sell? Like, do you need to delete those and try again tomorrow? I would just like ruminate on it. And to the point where sometimes I would get so upset that I would cry about it. I would be like, I need to like turn my phone off, throw it away. Like, it was just very, very, very uncomfortable for me, even in group Zoom sessions, like with my coach at the time, when she would ask, tell us about yourself, or, what do you think about this? Or, open up space to ask questions. I would just hide behind the screen. I would want to keep my camera off. I wouldn't want to speak in front of even a room of like 12 people in a space that was very safe with entrepreneurs. And I started recognizing this about myself, and I was like, okay, obviously to be a very successful entrepreneur with my big vision that I have, which is doing things like this and, being in front of the camera to create podcast episodes and to be on YouTube and to be all over TikTok and all of the things, like I have to get over this. Like, I just have to, because if I want to launch, this group program, which I'm in the process of doing right now, and I can't even speak in front of a group program that I paid to be in, there's some issues there. There's some issues there. And I knew that I needed to do all these things and, take more action on my social media in order to be successful. So this is actually when I got introduced to hypnotherapy. I was introduced to hypnotherapy and breathwork around the same time, because I was also in therapy, but I recognized that it was deeper than that. It was subconscious. It was deep in my body, these fears that were coming up. And so I joined a group program for breathwork with one of the clients that I had at the time, which was absolutely life-changing. And coupled with that, while I was, launching this group program, I also started to utilize hypnotherapy. I bought some hypnosis audios. I inquired about working with a one-on-one hypnotherapist. I, looked into like all of these different avenues. And as I started using hypnotherapy coupled with breathwork, it was like in a few sessions, my fears had just completely dissipated. And I ended up having this first launch as a sold out launch at $35,000, which is absolutely insane for a launch of a group program for the very first time, because that made me realize like that was the stepping stone into, oh my gosh, like you can do this and you can produce massive amounts of success in this. I had literally in the span of a month made what I used to make in my nursing job in an entire year, right? Like that's insane. And so it started to kind of like spiral this domino effect of, oh my gosh, like your success is just, it's going to tenfold from here. Like you have all of this opportunity around you and built all of this confidence, right? But this is also when I started to realize that if I didn't have that mindset work, I could take this strategy and I could just stare at it at my computer and I could not see results because of how I was showing up. And so I started to learn a lot about the subconscious mind. I started to learn a lot about mindset. I started to learn a lot about the nervous system at this point in time. And this is also when I started to realize like how we present ourselves and our body language and, communication is like 95% or 88 to 95% unconscious, meaning that I can show up on my stories, I can show up on video, I can show up on lives, I can show up on TikToks, but if 95 or 88 to 95% of my communication is fear, anxiety, stress, doubt, that's going to show up in how I'm selling. And so I'm not like fully owning my power and I'm not fully, expressing my offer in the way that it should. And, I could be selling, but underneath the surface, I'm actually feeling like, ooh, what if this sells? Like, ooh, like what if, this doesn't work out, or like not super confident, right? And no one wants to hire someone that under the surface is doubting themselves 24/7. And so this spiraled this like love for mindset work. It spiraled this like really insane, ability to see this massive growth for myself. It sparked a lot of confidence. It changed so much for me, so much so that since I did this first round of hypnotherapy and this first round of breathwork, I don't experience fear of showing up on camera. I don't experience the fear of being seen. I don't experience, the fear of speaking on a Zoom call. I don't sweat. I don't have these physiological symptoms in my body. body when I am in front of, speaking with people. So this sparked so much in my business to the point where, I was able to host master classes with hundreds of people on them. I'm able to guest speak. I've, spoken in a lot of different programs for other coaches. Like I've, had videos on TikTok go viral. There's so many aspects of that wouldn't have happened had I not initially, looked at this piece of my mindset that was just not serving me. And so once I, had this experience and I was like, oh my gosh, this is life-changing. It changed my life. I recognized in this group program that I had 13 girls in for the very first round. This is my signature program, the Visionary Accelerator, that my students were experiencing, similar things. Like they could have the strategy. I could map out this perfect tailored marketing strategy for them and this perfect offer and this perfect messaging. But if they couldn't implement it, or if their energy was always like doubt and fear, it didn't matter that they had the strategy. And if I was able to shift, them into inevitable success and full confidence in themselves and releasing imposter syndrome and releasing procrastination, it's like then the strategy mattered. And so I, through this first round, took my girls through this first round and was like, I need to be a hypnotherapist because I need to share this life-changing modality that I have started utilizing. And at the time I was still doing breathwork and hypnotherapy pretty regularly. And so actually very regularly on a week-to-week basis. And so I then decided I wanted to become certified. And it's funny because my client the other day who was asking about my journey to becoming certified was like, what was the process? Did you, have a plan for this? How did you think you were going to integrate it into your business? And I had no idea. And I think this is one of the reasons that I've had such massive success is because I have this idea and I take action on it. I don't need this big vision. I don't need this, massive clarity. I just say like, okay, this is something I want to do. I'm going to move. And I think that clarity comes from taking action, not from thinking. So I could have sat there and I could have thought, where's my business going to take place in, the next year? Like, how am I going to integrate this hypnotherapy into my business? What is this going to look like? What are my offers going to look like? But I didn't even let that stop me. I didn't sit there and think about it for months. I literally, within weeks of deciding that I wanted to become a hypnotherapist, had done the research, had signed up for a program, became certified, and was, basically putting in my calendar the certification dates or the training dates. And so I think that that's also important to highlight because I didn't sit there and think about, this is something I might want to do down the line, or this really aligns with me. I just said, I want to do this and I'm going to do it and I'm going to figure it out down the line. And so the thing with becoming a hypnotherapist is that there's a lot of different programs. There's programs that literally range from like days to programs that range to years. And that's a major reason why I've done multiple different certification programs in different modalities and from different renowned hypnotherapists. And have allowed myself to grow my education with time because the way that hypnotherapy works is that it's not necessarily about, it has to be this perfect framework in a session. It's more so about understanding the way that the subconscious mind works, how to use hypnotic language, and how to build rapport, just like a therapist, build trust and rapport with your clients in order to allow them to trust you and feel safe in the session. And so I did this very quickly. I got certified, and then for my next group program, I just added it into my program. I was like, I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm just going to take action doing it. So I didn't sit around and think, how am I going to integrate this into the program? Like, do I need to be one-on-one coaching first? Do I need to do this first? Do I need to do this first? No, it was like 6 months down the line, I'm just going to add this in. We're going to see how it goes, and then I'm going to tweak accordingly. So since then I have, ran, let's say like, I think 7 to 9 rounds of that program, and it's changed drastically over the years to support my students better and better. But I really want to hit home that when it comes to, having the thought of doing this thing, I just did it. I just moved and I just took the action and I figured it out down the line. And I didn't have this big vision of where it was going to go outside of, I want to support people. I want to serve people. I want to impact people. And I know that this is a life-changing modality. So from there, I have, integrated, obviously, hypnotherapy into every single one of my programs. I have a vast range of offers that people can jump into, anywhere from, hypnotherapy audios to one-on-one hypnotherapy coaching. And I've allowed that to grow with time. But overall, it was just a very quick process for me that was not very well thought out. It was just simply, I've seen changes from this modality and I want my clients to experience this as well too. How can I become the best possible coach for my clients and help them in many different areas? And how can I, make sure that I'm serving them to the highest of my capability? And that's ultimately why I got certified. I think the thing about hypnotherapy that was the most life-changing, or I want to say the biggest aha moment for me when I went through my training too, was I also had misconceptions about it prior to utilizing it. I thought it was this woo-woo, magical thing. I remember people talking about it or hearing about it, and I was like, yeah, that doesn't work. It's just this magic thing that people use on, hypnosis stages. It's kind of like stage magic, right? It's not actually magic. There's a trick to it. And so I, even had those misconceptions prior to becoming one. And then when I went through the training, it all started to click. And I was like, okay, so it's not this woo-woo magic thing. It's actually based in neuroscience. It's based in how the subconscious mind works, and it's very scientific. It's something that was not invented. It's something that was discovered based on the way that the brain works. And so as humans, we cycle between these different brainwave states throughout the day based on how fast or slow our brainwaves are moving. And those states, change from the time that we wake up to the time we go to bed. We're in a different state when we're creative versus when we're super focused, or when we're watching a TV show, or when we're driving. We kind of fluctuate between these different states of focus. And so hypnosis, all it is a very relaxed state called the theta brainwave state, which is right above kind of the sleeping state, or the state that we get into when we're sleeping, when our brainwaves are very slow and we're, in a resting state. And so it's called the theta brainwave state. And we access that through relaxation, through progressive relaxation. And that is what gives us access to the subconscious mind. And that is why we create change. So it's not this magical or mysterious thing. When you know the true facts, you're like, oh, it makes sense. It's literally science. And it can be understood as a state where we're basically receptive to suggestions for focusing the mind at a deeper level to create change. So the subconscious in this state can absorb these suggestions to facilitate change. So this is why I was able to go from experiencing this massive fear of being seen, and this massive fear of video, and this massive fear of showing up on camera, this massive fear of speaking, to complete confidence and lack of physiological symptoms in my body, and lack of stress, and just calm, centered when it comes to showing up on video, is because I went in with this goal of, I recognize that this is something that is holding me back, and I'm able to, obviously tell the hypnotherapist my goals and what I want to move through. And because of that, I'm essentially giving consent to creating those changes within my subconscious mind. And then through the session, you access the theta brainwave state, which allows you to bypass the conscious mind, bypass the critical faculty of our mind, access the subconscious mind, and create changes at a deep subconscious level. And the subconscious mind is, responsible for 95% of our life. So that's truly where we create change. But typically, there's this lack of awareness combined with how media presents hypnotherapy that has led it to, have these widespread misconceptions about what it actually is. And there's a lot of myths. And so we're going to go through some of those misconceptions and just kind of debunk them a little bit in this session as well too, because I think that a lot of people still feel this way. So number one, a lot of people believe that in hypnosis, you are going to be mind controlled, or that, a hypnotherapist or hypnotist can make you do crazy things like cluck like a chicken, or sing on stage, or, do some embarrassing thing. And at the end of the day, a clinical hypnotherapist would never do this. One, we're never going to ask you to cluck like a chicken, or stand on your head, or sing, right? That would be silly, because we're in there for life-changing techniques, or life-changing modalities, or life-changing goals. And this is also confusing a stage hypnotist with a clinical hypnotherapist. They're very different. A clinical hypnotherapist is to help you achieve your intentions in life and to help you achieve your goals, whereas a stage hypnotist is more for entertainment. But the thing about stage hypnotism that I think is so fascinating is that The stage hypnotist, although it is hypnotism, is essentially going through a framework of their techniques to vet the right people that are very highly suggestible, that will do the things that they want them to do. And just by asking you to volunteer to come on the stage, you essentially give consent to be suggestible or give consent to, do the crazy things that they ask them to do. So hypnotherapy is not mind control. It is simply just there to help you achieve your intentions, but you have to be in alignment with the things that are said, or you have to give consent to allow those suggestions to work. And so I think a great example of this is that, I could say in a session something along the lines of, and you're going to be so confident that you're going to speak on stage. But if you came to me and said, I don't really have the goal of like speaking on stage, I just want to be able to take TikTok videos and feel really confident in doing so, your subconscious mind is going to kind of like disregard that, because you're like, I didn't even have this idea or this goal of speaking on stage. I just want to, speak on TikTok videos. I just want to be able to take those videos. And so that's like not really going to create any change for you. And so it's important. This is why tailored hypnotherapy is so important. And audios can all obviously be really life-changing to start with, but tailored hypnotherapy is so much better, because we're literally taking what you want and your goals word for word and helping you achieve those intentions through, obviously a framework that I take you through, but it's all in alignment with what you want. The next myth that I hear from a lot of people is that you must be weak-minded if you want to be hypnotized. The truth is that everyone can be hypnotized, because it's just a brainwave state. It's just the theta brainwave state, and everyone accesses that state many times throughout the day. So when they go to sleep, when they wake up in the morning, when you drive your car and you know the route so well that you are like, how did I get home? I don't remember taking that turn. That's another state of like getting into that brainwave state where you're almost on autopilot. And each one of us is using hypnosis in some form every single day, either consciously or unconsciously, because we access that trance-like state every single time we use our imagination, or we engage emotions, or when our attention is really highly focused on an experience, and strength of the mind has really nothing to do with it. It's just simply how our brain works. So I had a mentor that I went through an advanced certification with actually say this to me, and I was like, I love that. And she said something along the lines of, just like you are born to breathe, you are born to be hypnotized, just simply because of the way the brain works. So just like our body naturally breathes, our body naturally accesses that theta brainwave state. Whether or not you're utilizing it to create change in your life is obviously up to you, but it doesn't mean that your mind is less or more weak. It just means that, if we utilize it in hypnotherapy, we're obviously utilizing it for great change. So even a weak-minded person or a strong-minded person who resists hypnotherapy, they can still be hypnotized because of the fact that you can access the theta brainwave state. So someone who cooperates, whether or not you feel like you have a weak mind or a strong mind in a hypnosis session, will be a good subject. So overall, hypnosis helps a person gain greater control over both your mind and body. It can also help you develop a stronger mindset, but it doesn't necessarily matter if you feel like you're strong-minded or weak-minded. I don't even like those terms, but that is a misconception that people have. Another myth that people have is that you are in a sleep state or a state of unconsciousness when you're in hypnotic trance. They think that it's going to be this like wild experience where you feel hypnotized or you feel different. And that is not the case either. You're not in a state of unconsciousness or a state of sleep when you are in hypnosis. In fact, it just feels like a relaxing state. A long time ago, I feel like, even in some of the certifications that I used, people would say or use the suggestion of sleep in hypnosis. Even sometimes in my sessions, I say something like deep sleep and I snap my fingers. And but I also use the suggestion of when you hear the words deep sleep, you're going to go deeper into a state of trance. I don't use that as a state of like you're actually sleeping, right? And so when someone is in a hypnotic trance, they're just in a relaxed state. That's all it is. So you won't feel hypnotized. Don't expect to feel hypnotized. Just expect to feel very, very relaxed. And sometimes in like media and stuff again too, we we still see that. Like, I've even seen this movie, I can't remember what it was called, about this like hypnotist that would make this person fall asleep and then make her do like these crazy things, and like commit crimes and stuff like that. And she would come out of the session like not remembering what was said to her and felt like she was sleeping or she lost all this time. While you can fall asleep in a hypnosis session, or you can feel like you lost time, or like it was, really fast or really long or whatever, you are still going to hear everything that I say to you. You're not like in this state of unconsciousness. You're just listening to what I say. And if you fall asleep, that likely just means that you needed some rest. That's what I tell my clients all the time. If you fell asleep, just listen to the session later. We always send out audios or recordings, but you didn't fall asleep because you were in this like deep trance state. You fell asleep probably just because you needed the rest. The next myth that I hear is that we swing a watch or a pendulum to hypnotize you. That's also a misconception. While I feel like there are people that probably, do use that technique as an induction or as, a progressive relaxation technique. I've definitely seen people do that. It's not something that a lot of people do. We just simply use our voice. So what you're hearing right now, the way that I'm talking to you, is the same way that I would talk to you in a hypnotherapy session, which is wild to think about. And it kind of makes you think like, oh, maybe I should try one, right? The next myth that I hear people say is that you can get stuck in hypnosis. You cannot get stuck in hypnosis, again, because this is probably something that you heard just in media or just as a misconception or in a movie or something. You can't get stuck in hypnosis. Getting stuck in hypnosis would be like getting stuck in a constant state of relaxation or getting stuck in sleep. Your body's always going to bring you out of it because that's what it's naturally meant to do, because it is just a brainwave state. So you cannot get stuck in hypnosis, and it just like can't happen. I don't know what else to say about that. A person will eventually become bored and will just get up when they feel like it in a session. Like, let's say if I didn't count you up out of a session, or you will just open your eyes eventually if like the room is quiet or something, because you'd be like, what's happening? I think the important thing to note in a hypnotherapy session as well too is you can move anytime you want. You can open your eyes anytime you want. You can even talk. I have clients talk to me while they're in the state of trance, because they're not asleep, and they're not like in this stuck state. They're just in a state of relaxation. So if you think about a state of relaxation, maybe when you're laying in bed, when you're falling asleep at night, like if your partner talks to you, you can still respond. You might have your eyes closed and you might be relaxed, but if they were like, open your eyes, let's go do this thing, or let's go get a snack or something like that, you'd probably open your eyes and just get up. It's the same exact thing. So you're not going to get stuck there. Another thing that I think people experience is that they think that hypnotists have these like massive special powers, or that I have like crazy powers where if I'm like, I've had people, when I was dating say to me like, okay, so you control my mind? And I'm like, no. I don't have these crazy special powers. Like, us sitting here and just having a conversation is not me hypnotizing you. I've been trained to go through a very specific set of instructions that I have that get you into that state to access your subconscious mind. But I'm just like anyone else. And while hypnotic language is great to use in like marketing and stuff like that, it's just very simple techniques that have developed with practice and experience, and also that I've been trained to do to help you enter that state. But it's just me talking the entire time. Another thing that people have a misconception about is that hypnosis is just another name for relaxation. And I know obviously I've said a lot in this session that it is just a state of relaxation, but it's so much deeper than that. Relaxation is just one of the ways of inducing a hypnotic state. It's not the only way. It is just the easiest way to experience or to explain hypnosis for someone that has not experienced it. But it can also be, induced through excitement, or induced through other emotions, or induced through visualization. You don't necessarily have to feel relaxed in order to do it right. So now that we've kind of gone over some misconceptions, let's talk about what actually happens in a session. And it's not super special, guys. You're not going to be like, oh my gosh, that's what happens in a session. No, it's not. It's not super special. It's not this crazy, thing. It is essentially just, we talk in the, first 10 to 20 minutes of a session together, and I get to know and understand what are your goals, what are you desiring in your life. I ask you a few questions that can pinpoint some blocks for you, because a lot of times we aren't able to see our own blocks. So I can ask you a few questions based on your goals to understand what could potentially be blocking you on the way to get there. I want you to remember that if you have a goal in business that you have not achieved yet, there's likely some sort of limiting belief in the way. So me asking you just a few questions can help me understand where those blocks are coming up. We talk about your goals, we talk about your experience just in general, and I address any of these misconceptions that we just talked about as well too, if it's your first time. If it's not your first time, we don't do that. And then we get right into the session. The first part of the session is always going to be some sort of progressive relaxation. So it's going to be what we call an induction. And that always is, for me, going to be some sort of relaxation where I take you from your head to your toes and have you relax every area of your body, and using the power of your mind, relax every area of your body, almost like a body scan. Then we do some sort of deepener, which is going to be like taking you down a staircase, or, if you do my sessions, you'll know this, we always use the staircase. And then we get into the therapy portion, which is also something that I am trained to do very specifically through language based on your goals. The therapy portion can sometimes be metaphors that we insert. It can be, just different language that I use, but it's always me talking. And then once we get out of the therapy session, I count you up. So I say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At the count of 1, you'll be wide awake, alert, ready to allow the suggestions to work for you, something along those lines. I use different verbiage at different times. And then you're awake and we talk about your experience, and that's basically it. So it's very similar to a therapy session in the sense of it's going to be an hour and we're talking about your goals. We're, moving through therapy in the sense of like helping you move through things. And then at the end of the session, we talk about anything that came up for you. A lot of times throughout a session, I will ask clients questions and ask their subconscious mind to come forward and, move through different things, or move through past memories, or, speak to how we can release something. And so I'll ask them questions and they will respond to me. We'll have conversations while you're in that hypnotic state, which is really powerful as well too. And that's basically it. It's very simple. I think that if you can understand that it's, you just going to be feeling relaxed the whole time and listening to the sound of my voice, it's a lot less scary than it seems. And I remember like the first time I went into a session, I felt a little bit weird over Zoom about having, someone staring at me the whole time. I'm not staring at you the whole time. I do ask that your camera is on, but for the most part, I'm just looking at your breathing and your body language just to make sure that you're in a relaxed state. Obviously just to make sure that you are listening to my suggestions and you haven't fallen asleep. And that's basically it. I'm not just sitting there like staring at you the whole time, but I do glance, here and there. And that's basically it. So it's not this crazy, wild, thing that people make it out to be, but it is a really life-changing experience because it allows us to access the subconscious mind and to speak to the subconscious mind. So overall, if you have any questions about hypnotherapy, you're always welcome to message me on Instagram. You're always welcome to, send those over. I'm happy to talk through it and to address any of your misconceptions or things that you've heard. I think the thing is that I really want to hit home is that, in telling my story, is that the strategy is so simple in business. It is so simple. It gets to be so simple. It's not this like, I feel like so many people fixate on having the right messaging and having the right content and having the right marketing strategy. And while those things are important, we spend so much time like thinking about content pillars, thinking about types of content that we want to post, thinking about, am I doing problem awareness content? Am I doing this type of content? What are my buyer types? Blah, 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 blah. And again, those things are important, but that is like one small aspect of the strategy. And it gets to a point where we fixate on it. It almost becomes a subconscious block because you're constantly looking for a problem. Like, am I posting the right messaging? Am I, saying the right thing in my content? Am I saying the right thing in my marketing? Am I, doing XYZ thing? And it gets to the point where it's like, that is your block right there. Is you're focused so much on the strategy. You're not realizing that like your behaviors and your subconscious could be, fixating on this so that you don't have to allow yourself to be seen, or so that you don't have to allow yourself to achieve success because deep down you're scared of it, right? And so I want to hit home in telling my story, just the fact that the strategy is only one small piece of it, and you can have all the strategy in the world, but if your subconscious mind is not in line with the desires that you have consciously, you're going to have a really hard time creating the results that you want. So Overall, if you are someone that is really like, I want to own my power, I want to, take this strategy and run with it, I want to take more action, I want to feel more comfortable and confident doing this, I want to fall back in love with my business, I want to make more money, I want to create more visibility, have, more followers, I want to do all of these things, like I have a really big vision for myself, then I would highly, highly, highly recommend that hypnotherapy is a very consistent part of your routine, and is honestly like the only part of your mindset work, because we don't need to do all these other crazy things that people do, like journal constantly and gratitude journaling. And like, while those things like are not bad, and if they serve you, then that's great. But hypnotherapy is such a like powerful tool that can make such massive shifts so quickly. I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you either sign up for my Dynamic CEO hypnosis bundle to start somewhere with some hypnosis audios, or join Embodying the Leader Within, which can be coupled with a lot of programs that you're already in. If you're already in a mastermind, or you already have a one-on-one coach, or you already are in a group program, or you already are working with a mentor in some capacity, this program is mostly hypnotherapy. So it's really, really, really great to add to what you're already doing, because it is weekly hypnotherapy together. It is, one-on-one mindset support with me, as well as strategy if you need it. And it is focused on moving through the top blocks that entrepreneurs face in business, and to, really stop sabotaging your own success, to move through the procrastination, move through the resistance, move through the fear, and just overall like fall back in love with your business. So I would highly recommend you check out the links below this episode, and send me any questions that you have about the offer. Overall, I just am so excited to share this life-changing modality with you. And you can also, if you are curious and want to start with some free hypnosis audios, check out any of the previous episodes to try it for free and start doing it every day, and let me know what shifts you have. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Can't wait to chat soon.